Hi lipstick philosophers, I'm back with a proper video! I haven't had a proper video on this channel in such a long time and I apologize. I was on a road trip for almost 3 weeks and I'll put links to all those videos below if you guys haven't seen them yet. I went to VidCon and I went on the Exceptionally Ordinary tour and then I went to Vegas and then I drove home in 2 days. We are talking about our favorite lipsticks and also our favorite philosophers. Finally. I'm gonna start with my favorite lipsticks because it's way easier to talk about. I'm actually wearing it today, and it is On Hold by MAC, and I love it so much. It is good for, I don't know, it just goes with everything. And as far as like a brand for lipsticks, I would say that MAC is my favorite just because they have so many colors and so many of their finishes are really nice and they are well priced for being a high-end brand. And I have the most of those lipsticks, I think. I might have more Revlons, but I don't know, it's because they're cheaper. But I also, another of my favorite MAC ones is Cream Cup, which is like a light nudie baby pink color. My current favorite and my new favorite, even though I won't own as many of these because they're ridiculously expensive, is the Chanel Rouge Allure. Look at, oh, so fancy. And I dropped it, which is depressing because there's not a whole lot in here, like that's it. But this one is in Confidential and it's like this warm pink color. It's almost coral, but it's so pretty. I like it a lot. And they make me feel fancy, like look how fancy that is, it's so fancy. And now on to the confusing part. When I found out that this week's theme was gonna be favorite lipstick, favorite philosopher, I was like, I never really took a philosophy class in college, and I was never really that interested in it because it's so confusing. I mean, I took history classes where we learned basic stuff about Socrates and Plato and Aristotle and other people that are philosophers. Clearly, I don't know much. And then I took a modern literature class where we got to read, why did I say we got to read? We had to read Discourse on the Method by Descartes, which I still don't understand that well. Yeah, was not very good in that class. One philosopher that I managed to dig up and do a little bit of research about to make sure that I remember correctly what we talked about was Immanuel Kant. And we learned about Kant and Kantian ethics in my media ethics class, which was one of my favorite classes my whole career in college. I mean, besides like television studies, but we got to watch Twin Peaks in that class. If you are in college right now or you're going to be entering college, I strongly suggest that you try to take a media ethics class. I think that it should be like mandatory that everybody take at least one media class because we are constantly surrounded by it. It's a lot more useful than like learning about the Salem witch trials. I love the Salem witch trials. I love learning about Salem witch trials, but it's a lot more useful to learn about what's happening right now. In layman's terms, Kantian ethics, I'm gonna read this off of a thing because I don't want to screw it up. Kantian ethics is otherwise known as duty ethics, and it was one of 5 types of ethics that we got to learn about. Duty ethics basically says that we should do what would be right if everyone did it. Kant called this his categorical imperative, where basically in a situation, an ethical situation, where it's not the consequences that make an action morally wrong or right, but the motives of the person doing the action. Does that make sense? His categorical imperative had 3 basic axioms. Again, reading this. Act only according to that maxim by which you can also will that it would become a universal law. English. Act in such a way that you always treat humanity, whether in your own person or in the person of any other, never simply as a means but always at the same time as an end. Act as though you were, through your maxims, a law-making member of the kingdom of ends. So basically it's like doing an action, it's morally right if it will be morally right for everyone. Like, he did not just talk about the categorical imperative, but that's what he's most known for. Like, we had Kantian ethics, like we had a whole thing about Kantian ethics in my class. While I don't necessarily agree with all of the things that he said, I found him to be a really interesting philosopher. Like, his ideas were almost completely the exact opposite of Aristotle, that it judges actions based on how they conform to reason. So if that makes sense, like Kantian ethics are based on reason rather than emotion. Get what I'm saying? I mean, there are a lot of other ethical standards that I could talk about, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about philosophers. God, maybe I'll make a whole video on ethics on my main channel. But Immanuel Kant was a really interesting philosopher and really relevant to the things that I like and the things that I want to do pertaining to media, and I thought that nobody else would talk about Kant, so I'm being all individual and stuff. I hope that kind of made sense. Like, honestly, I did not take any philosophy classes. I don't know about philosophers. So Kant was the one I knew the most about and that I found the most interesting. So favorite? Fine, at the present moment. I'm excited to watch everybody's videos from this week because I've been so behind on just like YouTube in general while I was gone because we had no decent Wi-Fi anywhere. Like, seriously, all the hotels that we stayed at, except for one in San Francisco, we had to pay. And at the hotel at VidCon, it was like $12 a day. But I hope we get back into the swing of things, like, legit. God, I feel so bad that we suck. Bye, guys!